Hello everyone, it's dragonplatinum here, and today is the day you've all been waiting for. The first ever Plane Crazy competition. The results, they're finally in today. I thought I'd just make this little introduction first so everybody knows exactly what's going on. So we did have 9 finalists. Unfortunately, I had to disqualify 2 of the finalists. One of them never showed up for any of the recording sessions that I did to show off their plane, and another one accidentally deleted their plane before they got to show it off. So there's only going to be 7 contestants this time around. For those that got disqualified, make sure to join in next time. Try not to delete your plane, and keep an eye on Discord because I do message people all the time trying to get these recordings done so that we can get these competition videos out a little bit faster. This one took a little bit longer, but it was also my first time, so you know, it was a little bit weird as it was. But anyways, without further ado, I'm just going to quickly say what our criteria are, and just in case you never saw the announcement video. Our 3 criteria that I'm going to be marking on is design, difficulty, and handling. Design being the look of the plane, how cool it looks, just like the overall sleekness, or does it match with the theme that it's going for. The difficulty being the number of blocks used, the techniques that were used to build it, and just the overall how difficult I personally would think it would be to make. So some things might get away as being more difficult even if they're not, but it's through my eyes, and that's the way that I'm going to be voting for it. And finally, handling. This one's really simple, how well the plane handles in the air. So turning, speed, acceleration, all that stuff. We have a lot of fighter jets in here, and they're going to have a huge advantage in this category. But anyways, without further ado, let's begin. First up, we have Pokemon J with the SU47. The backward shape to the wings was a really cool idea, and to my surprise didn't affect flight at all like I thought it might. Design-wise, I felt that the plane was overall really solid, but just needed something to stand out other than the wings to really push it to a higher mark. Difficulty-wise, this plane does look like a challenging build on the surface for someone like myself. However, this is a competition for experienced builders, and for the most part, this just looked and felt like an average jet. It was very safe and didn't really push the boundaries of what kind of potential I think it really has. Lastly, the handling on this thing was a breeze. Sharp turns, barrel rolls, steep inclines, and landing. This thing could handle it all. Overall, this was a really solid contender and one of my personal favorites. So this was a really good first plane to set the stage for the competition. For scoring, I'm going to give Pokemon J's SU47 an 8 in design, a 7 in difficulty, and a 9 in handling. A very solid score to start the video. Next up, we have PJEx with our biggest plane in the competition, the C-17 Globemaster. A big plane like this is going to require a lot of careful design to make everything look nice, but also make sure the plane can fly. And I must say, this plane looks amazing. From a sleek exterior to a somewhat furnished interior, complete with a stowed away car, this plane had a lot of thought put into it. Not only did it look nice, but even I can tell that this plane was no easy build. With almost 2,000 blocks and many features such as flares, a working cargo door, an ejector function, and a second vehicle, this was no doubt a difficult plane to put together. Now, after all that good, there is sadly some bad. This plane did not handle very well. Turning took what felt like years, and the slow movement speed on takeoff and even while flying did leave something to be desired. Unfortunately for this beast, it was the handling department that really hurt it. With all that said, PJEx's final scores are a 10 in design, a 10 in difficulty, and a 3 in handling. Next up is Miguel's commercial plane. This was another big plane with a deceptive side. It was surprisingly quick for its size. Now, being quick is never fun if you're not looking good while doing it, and this was somewhere I felt that this plane could have improved on. Overall, the plane looked a little blocky, and while I normally would have looked past something like that, in this competition there was a lot of sleek and smooth looking planes, and this one unfortunately stuck out to me. Difficulty wise, this plane didn't look overly difficult to build, and for the most part ended up looking kinda standard. I think if a little more complexity could have been added, it may have scored a few more points. While flying around in the plane, I could tell that something felt slightly off with the handling, and that tighter turns may have been being forced, causing the plane to have a few awkward turns and made it feel slightly unbalanced. Overall, this plane felt very ordinary, not bad in any regards, but with lots of room for improvement in the future. And for this, Miguel's score ended up being a 6 in design, a 6 in difficulty, and a 7 in handling. Next on the chopping block is Super Toddler's F-14. I believe that this fighter jet was the fastest one in the competition, and if I recall what I was told correctly, it abused a few glitches to get there. Now, design-wise, this is a very standard looking fighter jet. However, the fact that the wings could fold in on itself to make the design even sleeker than it already was really cool. Although I felt that there was still a little polish that needed to be added to the rougher edges to make it absolutely perfect. Difficulty wise, this thing looked tough to make. Although not as many blocks as 55 Titan's C-17 Globemaster, this thing not only used a glitch I didn't even know about, but incorporated things like the folding wings without messing up the handling at all. Speaking of handling, this plane was quick, nimble, and an all-around pleasure to ride along in. Overall, this plane checked all the boxes, and in my eyes had very minimal room for improvement. That is why I'm giving Super Toddler a score of 9 in design, 10 in difficulty, and 10 in handling. Next up is Hayden 14's Bomber. This plane was a good all-arounder. It was exactly what it set out to be, a bomber plane. Design-wise, I thought the paint job and overall look of the plane was good, and the addition of the rotating lower gun underneath was pretty cool. However, I felt that there was a few missed chances to really do something with the sheer length of the plane, as well as the area where the bombs dropped. Maybe if some more space for guns along the side of the plane had been added, or even opening and closing bomb bay doors could have really boosted this mark up. Difficulty-wise, this one looked pretty tough. Making sure the bombs were able to drop safely, the gun was able to get full 360-degree rotation, and the fact that it even had a crash landing sequence was pretty cool. Finally, in the handling department, this one did have a bit of a challenge among its competitors. I was looking for nimble and fast planes for this scoring category, and while the bomber is somewhat quick, the turning did feel a little slow. For my final scores, for Hayden 14's Bomber, I'm giving him an 8 in design, an 8 in difficulty, and a 7 in handling. Next up is Jared RBLX's F-18. This plane was the winner of the preliminary voting competition, and I can tell why. This is one of the sleekest planes in the skies. Design-wise, it was perfect. As I was writing the script for this, I tried to come up with a critique, and I couldn't. The simple yet stylish execution of the plane body was amazing. Speaking of amazing, this also looked amazingly difficult to build. Managing to keep the nice shape of the plane, along with keeping it at a reasonable size and still totally functional, was great to see. Speaking of great, let's talk handling. This plane handled like a dream, and honestly, there isn't too much to say about it. For Jared RBLX's final score, he received a 10 in design, a 10 in difficulty, and a 9.5 in handling. Last but not least, we have Memium and his A10 Warthog. This plane was, dare I say, the most fierce and deadly looking plane of the competition. Design wise, it looked really cool. The fact that a design was able to be fitted onto the nose of the plane while not affecting the rest of the plane was awesome to see. Although I do believe a little bit more polish could have been added to the nose to make it look a little smoother, and the fact that the plane had rockets under each wing to assist with turning did look a little odd. Difficulty-wise, this plane looked like a tough build. Just trying to keep the design nice but still flight capable is already pretty hard, but this was done really well. In the handling department, this plane was really good. The addition of the thrusters under the wings may have hurt it design-wise, however, this made it one of the best planes for tight turning and quick corrections. Overall, this plane was really good, and ended with scores of 9 in design, 9 in difficulty, and 10 in handling. Before we get to the winners, let me quickly say that this competition was a lot of fun, a lot of work, and a lot of planning. To all the competitors who didn't end up in top 3, I say, don't give up. There'll be more competitions in the future, so keep an eye out. I also want to take a quick moment to say that this competition specifically was really close, and the rankings for Final 3 really came down to how neat and clean the build was. So, without further ado, let me present to you your 3 winners. In 3rd place, with a score of 28, was Memium and his A10 Warthog. In a close second is Super Toddler and his F14 with a score of 29. And in 1st place, with a final score of 29.5, is Jared RBLX with his F18. So there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed the video. To the competitors, I hope you enjoyed competing, and I hope I'll get to do another competition soon. Anyways guys, if you guys liked the video, feel free to give a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always guys, it's Dragon Platinum, signing out. Peace out guys. Bye.